Diesel Creek is the go-to channel for a fascinating dive into the world of diesel engines and heavy machinery. Fans tune in to watch Matt Stetar bring old forgotten machinery back to life, highlighting both the mechanical process and the passion behind each project. While viewers have learned a lot about diesel engines and equipment, Matt Stetar himself remains a bit of a mystery. Who is this enthusiast with a knack for turning rusty diesel relics into roaring giants? Join us as we roll back the curtain on what you didn't know about Matt Stetar from Diesel Creek. Matt Stetar turned a jungle of dead machines into a graveyard that roared back to life. First came the hidden tools swallowed by trees. Then came the trucks, some silent for 50 years, growling back with fire and smoke. One rescue nearly failed when a spark plug exploded like a small bomb. Let us begin with the hardest one to wake. In the moment it finally screamed, the junkyard that refused to die. Matt bought the land when it had nothing, no trails, no buildings, no driveway, just dirt and the quiet remains of an old logging job from the 1950s. A few paths were still there but hard to see. Roots had taken over, thorns blocked the way, and broken branches covered the spots where wheels may have rolled long ago. But beneath it all, an engine was still there, half buried and forgotten. So he built a road, not because he needed one but because he needed to start. The road wasn't long, just enough to get through the first tree line, but it changed everything. 1 foot into the woods turned into 5, then 20, then a driveway deep enough to drag in whatever he could get his hands on. Machines that had been abandoned, forgotten, orphaned, here they had a landing spot. Here they waited for another shot. That first clearing became a catch-all: trailers, trucks, implements, gear. It started organized, one here, one there, but over time, the machines outgrew the space. One load became 2. One corner turned into a maze. And weeds took notice. They crept in, wrapped around axles, swallowed fenders. The field stopped looking like a project and started looking like a warning. A massive pile of milling stood in the center like a monument to procrastination. Just behind it, another pile, older, wetter, hidden under vines, held the soil he'd pulled from a soft patch in the original road years ago. It had never been moved, just dumped and forgotten like the old ghosts around it. Scattered across the property were machines with history, not value: a deckover trailer half sold but never picked up, an FS 800 crane truck half rescued but stuck in place, an International 4900 parked only for its bones, a Volkswagen Rabbit barely a car, and an International 454 gas tractor too far gone to use but too complete to scrap. Everything had a purpose, or it used to. The crown jewel was the Unit 1020 drag line, a machine older than most people who watched the channel. It starred in a video once, came home triumphant, then didn't move again. Parked in the wrong spot, sunken in soft earth, surrounded by other projects that seemed more urgent. All right, the plan is right now we're going to fire this thing up and hopefully we can shock load the boom clutch and it'll disengage, and since we have it supported through another device, it shouldn't fall. But Matt didn't forget it. It was next on the list. First the brush had to go, and not just trimmed, obliterated. Thorn bushes, vines, overgrowth thicker than a winter coat. He hacked, mowed, cleared, rediscovered shapes that had become outlines. Implements long swallowed by the woods re-emerged with rusted teeth and warped steel. But at least they could be seen. Then came the machines, the ones you can't lift by hand. The loader fired up. Dirt shifted. Old piles got pushed. What had been a dumping ground became a work zone again. He filled low spots, leveled grades, sculpted flat earth out of chaotic terrain. A plan began to show through. But the machines didn't make it easy. He went for the crane first. It looked fine, until it dropped a cable mid-move. The line bound itself between the sheave and the boom wall, wedging in so tight it practically fused. Something jammed. Something locked. Something gave up. Matt didn't. He climbed up, looked down, and knew this wasn't a job he wanted to do without gloves, or help, or a second chance. But he got it loose. No fancy fix, just leverage, patience, and a little brute force. One wrong move would have ruined the cable, the winch, the whole truck. But he didn't flinch. He won this time. Next came the rabbit. The car moved out easily. Tires still held air. The engine wasn't much, but it ran. It didn't matter. It was just in the way. The goal wasn't to restore. It was to remove. More machines followed. Some needed gas. Some needed a push. Some just needed courage. Then the dirt pile, that ancient hill of displaced mud and muck. Matt attacked it with the loader like it owed him money. Every scoop cleared a year of stalling. The more he moved, the more he saw how crooked the land had become. Water had settled into pockets. The grade was off. The edges bled into the treeline. It wasn't just disorganized, it was wrong. So he fixed it. Dragged in dry fill. Packed it. Regraded the ground. Flattened, finally giving him a surface worth working on. But the drag line waited. It hadn't started in over a year. The battery was dead. The fuel line was sketchy. The spark plugs corroded. Even the muffler had rusted into an echo chamber. But Matt went through the checklist: oil-topped, cables checked, fuel rigged. Nothing worked, not at first. He found a bad connection, fixed the wire, tried again. The pump clicked on. Fuel surged. Then stopped. Then he tried again, a cough, a puff of smoke, a whisper of memory. Then silence. He cleaned the rotor, filed the contacts, rigged a gravity tank since the fuel pump refused to play nice. No filter, no safety, just flow. He gave it another shot, and it fired. The drag line roared, bellowed, shook. The tracks were sunk. Too much rain. Too little traction. So Matt brought in the dozer, hooked up a line, winched it out slowly. The drag line groaned like it remembered what work felt like. Once free, it rolled easy. The machine still worked, scarred but functional. Then came the relics, 4 implements buried in the edge of the woods. Tools no one had seen in years: a two-row International corn planter, a bottom plow, a tow-behind John Deere sickle-bar mower built for animals not engines, and another corn planter just as forgotten. They weren't worth much, but they were history. Matt had saved them years ago while tearing down a barn. He never scrapped them, just left them parked on pallets that rotted with time. Now they stood again, crooked, rusted, but proud. He cleaned up the pallets, dug out nails, cleared the fence posts, pulled weeds from where implements had once vanished into the undergrowth. Found his third ground bee nest and made a wide circle. Let nature keep its spot. Everything else, fair game. And when it was done, the landing was clean. The trucks lined up in perfect rows. The implements stood like artifacts. The drag line faced forward. The trailer sat ready. Even the loader looked like it belonged. Right when it looked done, a louder job was waiting up the hill. When machines wake from the dead, that's where Matt Stetar found himself. Not in a shop. Not in a garage. In the woods. Under the sun. At the National Pike Steam Show in Brownsville, Pennsylvania. It wasn't just an event, it was a gathering of giants. Cable shovels, friction cranes, and locomotive hearts and rusted skins surrounded him. Machines with stories older than most of the crowd. Matt wasn't here to doubt. He brought backup, Sam from Scrappy Industries. 2 mines, 2 toolboxes, and no plans to leave the beast asleep. They circled the truck like archaeologists around a tomb. The cab was choked with dust. The dashboard crumbled under a single tap. But the bones were solid. Beneath the hood, a Cummins engine waited, still sealed, still proud, and maybe just stubborn enough to crank. The hood creaked open, revealing wires dangling like cobwebs. The fuel lines were bone dry. The battery compartments hadn't seen juice since flip phones. Still, Matt wasn't about to surrender. They brought jump packs, more than one, stacked in anticipation. Improvised. Overpowered. Ready for a miracle. Sam checked connections while Matt eyeballed the starter. Every inch of it whispered that they were too late. But neither of them listened. Matt, unfazed, reached for the ether, not a light puff, a full can. I pulled off our cap and rotor here. It doesn't look too bad. I'll give it a little shine up just 'cause I have it apart. It only takes a split second. So I got our contactor nice and clean on the rotor. Sam held his breath. Matt sprayed like he meant it. The clouds surged into the intake, thick and hot. Then came contact. The engine turned over once. Twice. A deep grind. A hollow boom. And then silence. They weren't finished. Matt adjusted the compression release, bypassed the dead solenoid, and manually forced open the fuel circuit. There was no computer to stop him, just stubborn hands and mechanical memory. They tried again. Another blast of ether. Another prayer. Another turn. And then it happened. The Euclid came alive. It didn't purr, it roared. Black smoke shot skyward. Flames curled from the stack. Noise poured out like rage. The machine long thought dead now screamed its return. Crowds stopped what they were doing. People stared. Some had seen this truck rot in place for decades. No one had ever seen it move, until now. It didn't roll so much as shudder. Roots gripped the frame. Branches scraped against the fan. A tree tried to grow through the fender. Matt cleared the obstacles, hacked through brush, and made